So the knee cut pass is one of the most powerful passes in all of jiu-jitsu, but I see a lot of confusion about the right way to do it. So the purpose of this video is going to give you an overview of understanding what the pass is about and how you can set it up in different ways. If you guys like the content, as always, like and comment and let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. Not only does it give me new ideas, but it also helps support the channel. Thanks. Okay, so the first thing to understand is the knee cut pass is very different depending on the grips the guy has. It's not always going to be the same pass. There's not like one way you always do it. We have to change it depending on many different grips and situations, okay? So loosely defined, the knee cut pass is basically any pass where I trap this leg. I'm going to come through with my knee in some way, and I'm going to pin his lower body facing one direction, and I'm going to use some kind of a mechanic to rotate his upper body the opposite direction. How that looks can vary a lot. It could be a cross collar grip and like my forearm pressuring his face. It could be me pulling up on this elbow or sleeve, which rotates his body this way and I slide through. It could be an underhook with chest pressure. It could be my left arm cross facing and pressuring. But there's a lot of different ways, but usually the end is always going to end with some kind of a mechanic rotating the guy this way while my bottom leg is pinning his lower half to the floor, creating kind of an alternating motion, okay? So now we're going to talk about how to assess the situations to decide which knee cut you should use next. So we're going to start off with doing the knee cut from no grips with our opponent on his back. Later on, we're going to deal with what to do if your opponent's sitting up, but I think a good foundational way to understand is on the back. Okay, so the first thing, the two main ways my opponent is going to be when I enter is either centered with his legs kind of tight like this, or he's going to be wide-legged or side tilted like this, okay? So when the guy's legs are a little bit centered, I'm going to show how to deal with this later, but that's actually a little bit harder. Usually when his legs are more centered like this, I'm looking for either like Toreando passes or stack passes, and that's kind of how I threaten there. And I will show how to do it from there later. But the first one we're going to deal with is going to be when the guy's side tilted. So maybe I come in, he's centered, I start to threaten a Toreando, and he kind of turns sideways. Whenever he's turned sideways and I see this top leg kind of open, this is a great time to go for it. This bottom leg is down, there's this kind of opening feeling. What I want to do is I want to go in with my right forearm towards the lapel. I'm going to use my forearm and my shoulder pressure to kind of hit this leg as my right shin drops on his thigh, and it creates this kind of like wishbone effect on his legs. This makes it super hard for the guy to lasso no matter how flexible he is. Even if he frames me with his hands here like this, I can kind of grab his tricep or his sleeve and I lean through, right? And one big thing to stop the lasso is once I get my back in front of this leg, a lot of people think the way to stop the lasso is to get really tight with your head. But if the guy's really flexible, he'll be able to push your shoulder and his foot will come over, especially if he's hyper flexible. Once I get through with my back though, no matter how flexible the guy is, his leg cannot come up and get through this, right? So I can kind of dig through here. So a lot of times I'll be here assessing the situation. I see the guy's open and I feel this moment right here. I can even try to open it a little bit with my forearm here. See, I see this angle wide open and I hit right in there and go. Okay, again, to get a clean knee cut, it's not about forcing the knee cut you want. It's about seeing the situation and choosing the right choice for the situation. So the start point is the guy's legs are kind of wide. We move him to the side, you see that opening, and then you drop in. Okay, so let's look at another common sequence off of this entrance. So sometimes I'm going to come in here and I start to get in and he's going to get this lasso. Okay, whenever I do this one, because he's kind of wide-legged, I can usually pin this to the floor or at minimum get my arm on the inside so I kind of have this pressure as I come in. Now he lassos his foot on my shoulder. All I'm going to do is I kind of circle back. I keep my left hand framing this forearm and I'm going to kind of pressure with my elbow to dip under this. And now I'm going to lift my right foot in the air and place my knee on the mat right here to go through for the cut. We'll do that from another angle. So we're again from another angle. I'm here, I get the lapel, I come in, he starts lassoing. I circle back and I kind of use my forearm pressure, my shoulder pressure. I want to make sure to keep this connected so I don't open up for an omoplata. Now as I go here, I can kind of get my head under and start shooting my knee through to finish the knee cut pass. Okay, that's kind of a series from passing, collar, sleeve, and there's other options than just the knee cut there, but the purpose of this video is to focus on the knee cut in multiple situations. I'll do a separate video where I go really in depth on passing the collar, sleeve. All right, so let's look at the second way to enter for the knee cut with no grips. So the classic way we enter is we usually go for this lapel and enter here, which is really good when this leg is more open, right? But sometimes what'll happen is as I enter and the guy's still side tilted, he's gonna be more knee shielded. And when he's knee shielded, if I go for this lapel, it's really hard because he can kind of break the grip. And if I go here, he can still kind of frame me out, so it's very difficult. So this is more like the classic Homolo Bahal style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control this top leg, and of course I could threaten other passes with it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to control this top leg, and I'm going to push it behind me as I drop in and grab the lapel with my left hand. This way I've completely cleared this top leg out of the way. He can no longer lasso with it. He can no longer knee shield with it. I have this lapel to pull tight and frame. His bottom leg is trapped, and now it's easier to start progressing to different pass finish variations, okay? Sometimes when I enter, I can really push this leg all the way through, but even if I can't, I'll just shoot my knee like a nail to his armpit here. In this position, when I have the lapel or the forearm, is very difficult to get out of. So if he starts framing me here, when I have this lapel, it's hard to get this leg out. I can kind of take my time and start pushing this leg behind, and now I can pummel and start working for the finish here. So again, from another angle, when I come in here, I have this top leg, I shoot in, I get this here, and I push this behind. Even if the knee shield is in a little bit, I keep my knee heavy. In this knee cut variation, I don't want to drop with my shin as much as I want to go with my knee like a nail, right? So my knee is dropping like a nail like this, right? It makes it way sharper when I cut in. So I drop here, and now this top arm can push this behind. Here, I'll pummel this out of the way, drop, and slide through. Another way I really like to set this one up is when I threaten like Toreandos, a lot of guys will frame with his hand. So he's usually protecting this elbow knee space a little bit, so it can be tricky. But when I go for the Toreando and he frames here, if I leave my shoulder weight on that arm, it makes it way easier for my knee to drop in this elbow knee space hole. Now I can grab this tricep, push, dig through, and start finishing. All right, so another common response once we actually enter into this kind of top style control, so just stand back. Okay, is once we get in here, guys will start grabbing this kind of single leg grip on your leg, right? If I stay, and this is not a big deal, we can pass this position, but the mechanics for finishing is a little bit different. For one, I don't have an underhook with my right arm, and two, there's the threat that if I let him come up on his elbow, come up on your elbow now, he's gonna start trying to come up into a single leg, okay? So I have to manage all this. So I know this is gonna happen when I come in on this pass, so as I get in here, as he gets here, I'm gonna look to get a hold of this sleeve, right? There's a lot of different ways I can do this, but the main idea is I want to center him flat so I can get a finishing grip. So the easiest one to start with is I'm just going to grab his sleeve with my left hand. I'm going to use my right hand on his shoulder. If his shoulder's too turned in and I can't push, I can even grab this material on the back here. You can kind of go around there. Right, I can even grab this material on the back here, and now I step my left foot in, I kind of back my right leg up a little bit. Stay turned into me really hard. I back my right leg up a little bit, and I use my knee to center him up. Once I center him up, now I can start looking for a passing grip. Like I talked about in the beginning, I need to rotate his upper body away. The problem is if we're here and I try to go all the way through, I can't rotate his upper body away. He's going to turn into me. So when I center him back up, now I can turn this right arm into a deep collar grip, and I get forearm pressure on the face. Now I cut my knee to the floor. I post my hand so I can lean all my body weight on this arm and get the face crank to finish the pass here. Alternatively, when I enter in this position, if I get the sleeve in here and I center him up a little bit, this is also a good time to dig an underhook. When the underhook, I turn my hand backwards, I go through this gap, and when I go here, I want to keep my arm straight as a board. I don't want to pull. When I go straight, see, try to turn into me. Into me, yeah. See, my right arm being straight, it's like a wall. Now I can dig that arm off, and now I can get really deep. I can grab the crossface, grab the tricep here, start finishing through. One other variation on this finish is when I'm here, I get this sleeve, I center up, is you can get this crossface with your left arm. The only thing is, as he turns in, some guys will try to rock you. So what I like to do is when I get this crossface, I take my right hand here, and I'm gonna grab his hips like this, right? Once I grab this hip, I can now get crossface pressure, keep turning into me. I can get crossface pressure, and pulling this up again rotates his hips into me as I force his upper body the opposite direction, and I get a lot of pass pressure to finish here. This is one Rodolfo Vieira used to pass Lucas Lech, who's got a famous half guard game.